ever to pack for a trip because her left hand would usually throw everything out of the suitcase after she had put it in. Sometimes when she went to embrace her husband, while her right hand would reach around to draw him closer, her left hand would be trying to push him away. Alien hand syndrome is 100% real. In fact, we even know exactly why they behave as they do. It's because the two hemispheres of their brain have been separated. In a sense, their brains have been split in two. Now, why do I mention alien hand syndrome at the beginning of a course on metaphysics? Because it raises a number of very important and interesting metaphysical questions. First of all, in split brain patients, is each hemisphere producing a separate stream of consciousness? If so, might this happen in healthy people as well? And how could we know? And how exactly do brains produce conscious mental activity anyway? To answer such questions, we might wonder how the brains of such persons get split in the first place. Our brain is constructed of two hemispheres connected by a band of tissues called the corpus callosum. In patients suffering from alien hand syndrome, it has been damaged. Doctors sometimes cut the corpus callosum intentionally as a treatment for grand mal seizures, but it can also be damaged naturally by a stroke. Why does this produce such strange behavior? Because the two hemispheres can no longer interact in the way they did before. In an intact brain, if the right brain, which controls the left hand, decides it wants to wear something flashy to work, the left hemisphere, which controls the right hand, can tell it no. It can send inhibitory signals to prevent it from acting on that desire. But if the corpus callosum is damaged and the right hemisphere gets a hankering to wear a tube top to work, there's nothing the left hemisphere can do about it. It gets even more interesting when you consider how these so-called split brain patients behave under experimental conditions. One hemisphere can read a word that the other one did not, or be ignorant of a command that has been given and is being followed. It can unknowingly react to pornographic imagery shown to the other hemisphere and can even express different life ambitions. One patient, known as PS, in an experiment conducted by neuroscientist Joseph Ledoux and psychologist Michael Gazzaniga, verbally replied to the question, "What do you want to do when you graduate?" with, "I want to be a draftsman. I'm already training for it." But when this question was fed directly and only to the right hemisphere, the left hand spelled out automobile racer with Scrabble tiles. The right hemisphere in these patients, it seems, not only has its own experiences, but its own desires and aspirations, maybe even its own personality. So now, more metaphysical questions are raised. Exactly how many persons are there in a split brain patient? Are there two? If so, where was the second person before the patient's brain was split? And where does the second person go if the corpus callosum is repaired? And what do the answers to these questions tell us about personhood itself? As we shall soon see, examining how this question must be answered would seem to entail that personhood is a fiction, that persons don't exist at all, or that at least they are very different from what we think they are. And this is what metaphysics does. These are the kinds of questions the metaphysician asks. Metaphysics is the study of the fundamental nature of reality. It often concerns itself with things beyond the physical world, and persons and minds are sometimes thought to be such things. And if God exists, at least as many conceive of him, he exists beyond the physical world. And so questions about God's existence are metaphysical questions as well. But metaphysicians are also concerned with the nature of the physical world itself. For example, the theory of relativity seems to suggest that space-time itself is a substance. In addition, discoveries in quantum mechanics raise serious questions about the very nature of matter and reality. As we shall see, it seems to suggest, at least on some interpretations, that the basic building blocks of reality are not solid material, but instead are probabilistic wave functions. Quantum particles don't even have a definite location or velocity until they are observed. Interpretations of quantum mechanics suggest everything from the idea that our conscious experiences determine what happens at the quantum level to the idea that there are multiple universes. In fact, science is relevant to metaphysics in a number of ways. Not only do scientific theories like quantum mechanics raise interesting questions to ponder, but discoveries in science can help answer them. For example, discoveries in neuroscience shed light on the philosophical problems that surround the human mind. And what can be explained and what can't be explained in physics may be relevant to whether or not God exists. So it's important
Para seguir escuchando este audiolibro gratuitamente, haz clic en el enlace de la descripción y podrás escucharlo completo sin coste gracias a la prueba de 30 días de Audible.